for you. Let us talk.
Thanks for coming down, everybody. I'm Franz Hall.
I'm Angie McKnight.
I'm Joseph Johns.
Right?
I'm Jack McEnroe. Yeah. There are two gentlemen. Instinct did a story on its day. They're a mixed status couple.
Yeah.
We actually have them here tonight. Please welcome Cameron Earnheart and Mike Schiermeier.
Hi.
So how are you guys doing?
Great.
So tell us, how long have you guys been together?
7 years.
7 years.
Wow.
That's great.
How'd you meet?
Yeah, how did you meet?
Did your eyes see each other across the bar and that kind of thing?
His eyes saw me standing in a corner with a hat pulled down over my head like this because I was very timid. From Arkansas and very shy and not sure.
But wait, were you out?
No.
Well, not at all.
Oh.
Are you now?
Who's positive, who's negative?
I'm positive. I'm negative.
What ran through your head when he told you?
Honestly, it was much respect for him. I had never met a person who was HIV positive. I was just new to the gay world, and for him to come out and tell me, I knew that took a lot. And I had to go home, and I just had lots of things running through my mind, but at the same time, I felt a connection with him that was, I guess, it was so strong.
But Matt, when you told him though, did you think he was going to come back?
No, I didn't.
Really?
Had you had the experience before that, in dating somebody and...
Yes, that's happened a couple times.
What really made you want to tell this story?
I started modeling for Rough Skin back in 2009, and when I realized that I had that international exposure as a model, I just thought that I would use being a model as leverage to stand up, stand strong for something that meant a lot to me, and that was to let the world know that I was positive and that there's many things that that we can all see through.
What actually kicked off and inspired you to do that? Because I know there's a connection between you guys.
He's my man. Back in 2007?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
We were watching Project Runway, and him and I, we were addicted to that show, and he came on and admitted that he was positive, and I just looked at Cameron and I'm like, holy shit. It's like, that's just unbelievable to me that somebody would be right there on national television and just not be ashamed of saying who he was, and physically just looking as great as he did, and just, I'm here, I'm positive.
There are so many young kids out there who are HIV positive and don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
And having people like you to look at and see that you can live a healthy life, a productive life. I can't imagine what it's like to be told by a doctor that you have HIV.
I did receive an email from a 20-year-old student that was in college, and just days prior to the Instinct magazine releasing, he had found out that he was positive, and it just seems like everything falls in place for a reason. But he was thinking that he was that his life was not going to be worth much of anything, and that nobody would love him, and that he just was so down on himself, and then he just happened to come across Instinct magazine, read that story, and it just brought tears to my eyes that our story, helped him.
Cameron, you're very much a role model to yourself, honestly, because to me, God bless him, you had the respect for him to tell him right away, but you actually came back and really saw the person behind all of that he wasn't defined by that, which is great. So I definitely applaud you on that one.
Would you just quickly tell them, share with them the story from the doctor's office and how tough that was?
Before I was diagnosed with HIV, a rash, it was pretty much seeping through my pores, and I refused to believe that this was happening to me. Although my weight was on a decrease, and I could physically tell that there was symptoms that, again, I just refused to believe that. So I found myself at an eye doctor with a pretty bad eye rash, and got real close into my eye and kind of took a step back and looked at me and said, have you have you ever been tested for HIV or AIDS? And, my heart sank, and I was just like, no, I haven't, And he said, well, the last time I saw something of this severity in a patient passed away 2 weeks later due to AIDS. So he then left the room, and a nurse came in and comforted me. I didn't see him after that. So.
We have the photographer here.
I wanted Frank to tell us a little bit about the photo shoot and what happened that day.
Well, it was quite amazing, because at first I got an email from these two guys that said, I'd love for you to photograph me, we love your work. And I took a look at their pictures and I was like, oh yes, I'll photograph you. And then we started chatting over the phone and we talked about the shoot, and Matt said, I have a story that I also want to tell the world. So they told me their story in confidence, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I said, I'd like to, with your permission, talk to Instinct magazine. They said yes. I called Instinct, and I have to give so much credit to Instinct because they jumped at the chance. This was a milestone for them because it was the first time they had an out HIV positive person on the cover. 2 days before the photo shoot, they were flying into New York. I had a vision of painting a big red plus and minus on their chests, and I was like, I don't know if they're going to go for this. That's a pretty big thing. And I told Matt, I said, I'd like to paint a big red plus on your chest, and he's like, I love it, let's do it. And my vision was to do it outdoors, and so I wanted to go to the Christopher Street Pier where you see that black backdrop, and so I hired a makeup artist, and we go to the pier, and we're in like a little huddle position, and we paint the big red plus on Matt's chest and the minus on Cam's chest. And I'll never forget this moment. They sort of looked down at each other's chest, and they sort of was like a quiet little moment between them, and they said, well, I guess this is it. And we knew at that moment, it's a little touchy, we knew at that moment that it was a pretty big thing,
So ladies and gentlemen,
Qtalk's for you. Let us talk.